Happy Thanksgiving, happy Thanksgiving, happy Thanksgiving. It is definitely a day to explore gratitude and just be thankful for life, thankful for family, thankful for everything that's happening in your life, thankful in advance for the things that's coming. But that's not why we came here today, and that's not what I wanted to share, but I wanted to acknowledge that. What I wanted to talk about was how I lost over $1 million and how it ended up being one of the greatest things that happened to me. I'm gonna take you on a journey. I'm gonna share my story. Growing up, like many of you probably is the first to do many things in your family. You probably didn't talk about finances or didn't hear it. You probably didn't hear about a net worth statement or wealth or owning properties, cash flow. You're just the first in your family. It's no disrespect. Hey, you don't know what you don't know. Your family, they didn't know what they didn't know. But at the end of the day, there's still consequences for not knowing, meaning just the lack of financial literacy and the lack of wealth building skills that were developed. So that was my story, probably not any unique than anyone else. So I so growing up, I worked jobs. I think my first job, oof, I made, I'm saying this out loud, it was like $7 an hour or something like that. It was at Mickey D's. Yes, McDonald's was one of my first jobs. Actually, it was another place called Hudson's, but it's like a salvage store. And then it was McDonald's. But worked, always was a hard worker, working. You in college. I'm sorry, you're not in college. I wasn't in college at that time. I was eighth grade, ninth grade, making that type of money. Always a hard worker, consistently made money. And it was the days where when you got paid, I didn't have direct deposit. You just picked up your check and then you took it to the bank to cash it. Wow, that's throwback. Yeah, that's throwback. And so made money consistently, saved some of it, spent most of it, and the cycle continued. Then you get into high school. You working really hard, you're grinding, you going to school, then I leave school, then I go to work. Same thing. Saving a little bit, spending most of it. And that continue on into college. And so it was save, save, save. But you, as we know, you can't save your way to wealth, but that's the path that I was on. And when I was in college, I hit my first milestone, which I was super excited about. I saved $10,000. I saved it, and that was a huge thing for me. But throughout that time period, investing, I never heard it. It never clicked. Didn't get exposed to it. But now I'm by myself. I have my own apartment, and so I'm past 18, 19, 20, 20, 21, somewhere in that time frame. And going through college, making money, I always worked. I was that student that went to school and worked. So while my my homies, my friends, my college mates, if you will, some of them didn't work. And while they were at the caf doing their thing, having a good time, once I left class, I was going to work. And not only was I was working, I also had a work study. So I class, between class, work study, and the close to full-time job, your boy was grinding. And so there was money there. It wasn't that I was rich or anything. Nah, that wasn't the case at all. But the closest I got to money management was I just would save money and made enough to pay my bills because I didn't live on campus. I was one of those students that when I came to college, I had my own place. Well, me and my cousin had a place. And so my cousin was graceful to me and allowed me to move in with her. We just happened to be going to the same college, so she told me, she was older than me. She said, "Hey, you can come stay with me." So I stayed with her for a while, and we were roommates. And I paid my half of the rent and groceries and all those things. And so I was pretty, as you could tell, I was pretty responsible at that time. Sure, plenty of areas there were immaturities and just being young, and just hadn't had the experience yet to learn my lessons, to gain that wisdom to get better. And I just was figuring out a lot on my own. And so to push the story forward, you graduate from college. Now you're looking to find that big job, your grown up job. And so landing your first job, making 40,000 or so, somewhere around there. I'm getting a number. I'm not too far from the numbers, but as you can imagine, having massive amounts of debt, and deferring those student loans like crazy, because when you first graduate, you're not making enough money to pay that back. Well, let me not say that. You can pay it back, but it will be tight if you were on your own. And so just I kept deferring my student loans, and I kept up the same behavior patterns. But now I'm in the workplace, and there's 401ks, profit sharing, things of those nature. Neglected putting money in 401ks, and the times that I did, something would come up, and you end up leaving the place, and you take it out, cash it out. You just don't know how that is impacting your future, and you're not allowing compound interest to work. And so fast forward, then, you're in your 20s, then you get to your 30s, and you still have some of those behavior patterns. You don't know what you don't know. You start to hear certain things, and you're like, oh, I guess I should pay attention to that. I guess I should invest, or I guess I should start paying attention more. So you slowly start contributing, but you think the market is a scam, or you just don't understand it. You think it's a casino. I've heard all those things. Some of those things have come out of my own mouth, and I'm embarrassed to say that now, because it's not a scam. It is a way to build wealth. It just takes some time. And that is, and so now reflecting back, that was a huge mistake. But I said it was one of the best things that ever happened to me as well, because now I understand the absolute importance of it, and I wouldn't be so passionate about financial literacy at this point to help others along their journey, where I can maybe impart, share some wisdom to those that just don't know. First generation, you just learn a whole lot of things, and a lot of things are coming at you fast. You're in college, you're trying to figure that out. You are still trying to find yourself sometimes as you're a young adult. You're dating, you just have other interests, and all of a sudden financial literacy and money management is just going to pop up at the top. Maybe, but more than likely not, when you look at the numbers. And then it just repeats. So the reason I say this one of the best things that ever happened to me is because it wouldn't have led me down this path of just being so passionate about it, and even having coworkers or folks my age, people that are older, and I've learned so much on this journey that it wouldn't have taken me down that path. I've read so many, but I wanted to be a millionaire, but my actions wasn't lining up to millionaire results from an investment perspective. The more I read, the more I seeked. I seeked to understand. The more I read more, started learning more, and realized the error in my ways. But then I started activating some of those things and slowly implementing And the more I learned, the more synergy, the more excitement, and the more money I deployed in the market, the more I became motivated to pay off my student loan debts, the more I decided to be an asset for myself, but also focus more on assets, meaning the stock market or whatever else, and start to reduce those liabilities that's just crushing and counterproductive to wealth building, the car notes, all those things. And so I started building that momentum. And now I'm in a position close to being a millionaire, but not just a millionaire, being a debt-free millionaire. And that's not a small feat, but it's been a journey. And so there's never any judgment on how you start, but it's not okay to blame your family once you leave the house. It's on you now to figure things out. It's on me now to figure things out. And I want to be that person to help. I don't have all the answers. I'm not perfect, as you heard the story. I'm a regular person, just like you. B minus, C plus kind of student. But I went to school to make money, but then now I started making money, and I wasn't being a good steward with my money. And that's what you call accountability, me saying that out loud. And so I want to encourage you to be more accountable and being a better steward with your resources and working on your personal finances and doing better. Do better. Don't be me. Let me be the example. And heck, even if you are around my age, that's okay. Let's just get going. Let's start. And so that is where my passion comes from. That's where my heart comes from, in terms of like just pouring into people, helping people, because I know it's very peaceful to have your finances organized. And I'm married, so working with your wife and y'all working together and building that relationship there. So I went through financial peace a couple times. I've invested. And when you start seeing those returns and those gains, and you start seeing like the growth, it takes time, but you start seeing the growth. But then also on the other side, when you start knocking down some of that unnecessary debt, you realize like, wow, this process was way more simple than I even thought it was. It's very simple. It's not complicated. Sure, you can get into some more sophisticated wealth building things as you progress, but in terms of the fundamentals, I got you on that part. I can help you on that. That stuff is easy. And so I can absolutely help with that part. So that's my story. I'm sticking to it. Coming to you Thanksgiving, wanted to give you some words of encouragement on some encouragement if you found yourself and you're like, well, maybe it wasn't $1 million that I lost. Maybe it was. And the reason I said $1 million is because when you start thinking about the compound interest and you start looking at some of those calculators and you just start putting it in, you like, oh my God, I was an idiot. I can't believe I did that. But it was a part of the journey. So there's no point in woulda, coulda, shoulda. Everything that happens in our past, it only makes us stronger. It only makes us better. But the biggest thing is you have to learn the lesson. And so I encourage you to learn the lesson, learn from me. And if you're in that boat, hey, let's do something about it. But until the next video, I'll catch y'all later. Happy Thanksgiving. Peace.